If you want to be a high achiever and achieve success in life, you must concentrate on developing your mindset around these 4 factors. Develop an ability to adapt quickly, have massive fears of failing, just take action, and always be learning. Hey everyone, Chris here. A high achiever is defined as someone who outperforms the average person in their field. Pretty simple and straightforward, I know. And it's a characteristic that I know many want. But wanting to be one and actually becoming one are 2 very different things, and some people never manage to bridge that gap. I recently invited my friend Crystal Kelly to be on our podcast. The full link of the podcast is in the description below. But I invited her on because I saw how hard she worked and how successful she was when we both worked in the private capital markets. I wanted to chat with her to find out more about her journey as a professional in the financial industry and what specific traits have supported her success so far. From the conversation, I can distill it down to 4 factors that put her in the high achiever category. So the first factor is being able to adapt quickly to different situations. What I learned from Crystal is that her childhood was not a great one.
To be fully transparent, my childhood was actually, and my upbringing was actually pretty traumatic. If you think about a lot of the different sort of heartbreaking traumas and abuse that a child can endure, I experienced probably most of them. I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing called the ACE quiz, but it stands for the Adverse Childhood Experience Quiz. It's a list of 10 questions. They're very specific about different traumas and abuse that you can experience. And so for each question that you answer yes, that adds a point to your score. And my score is 10 out of 10.
Oh my goodness. Now, instead of just being sad about her situation, Crystal has learned to see it differently.
You know, as I've gotten older, I've realized that there's some power in that too, and want to be able to speak my truth too. So it sounds really sad, and it is, but it also has kind of been my superpower in life as well. Through that, there's a few skills, I guess, that I developed that I really like about myself, and one of them is independence, which is a good life skill.
So many things are often out of your control, so why focus on those things? Learn to adapt, and you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish. I
sort of have this confidence that no matter what happens or changes in life, I have the ability to adapt and still continue to develop and grow as a person. There's something I'm really proud of too, which in my mind is my legacy, which is I broke the cycle. And so I've managed to end all of that trauma and abuse. And, I haven't been a perfect parent, but I've certainly been able to raise my kids in the way that I wish I was raised and give them a good head start in life.
Second, in order to develop a high achiever mindset, you must have a certain level of fear of failure. Alex Hormozi put it best in one of his YouTube videos when he asked what would motivate you to take action. Looking at the blue sky and striving to do what you're passionate about.
On this side, your family gets kidnapped, and if you don't do something, they will kill them all.
I know it's extreme, but he makes a point here. You'd be pretty quickly motivated to take action to save your family. While he's not downplaying that passion for something can help, the fear of what life might be like if you fail is a much stronger and more immediate motivator. For Crystal, having lived through that trauma and difficulties earlier in her life is what pushes her to keep progressing.
It was kind of like I was itching to break free from it so I could live the life that I wanted. And I think I felt that all through childhood. And so, I moved out when I was 16. I finally was like, hey, I've had enough. I'm out of here. And so I graduated high school at the same time working full time to support myself and kind of started down that path of, okay, what kind of life do I want to create? And it wasn't that simple. It was certainly messy. I just kind of always had it in my mind that there was a better way to live and that I wanted to live a better life.
I was at a conference last year and had the opportunity to listen to Serena Williams talk about her mindset and motivations. She said that she hated to lose more than anything else. It wasn't about the money, it wasn't about her new venture, it wasn't about these lofty visions, although it did play a part in her planning. It was more about not wanting to lose. That fear was the biggest factor in motivating the actions to win. Now, third, you just need to take action.
I would say at that point, I still didn't have this clear vision of where I was going to end up. It was just, and it always has been in my life, just take the next step. And as long as you're taking action to develop and grow and do something, things always happen. And that's kind of how I went through my whole young adulthood and, eventually ended up here. It was never like a clear path and I knew step 1, 2, 3 to get there. It was kind of like, okay, try this. And it always led to something else.
Sometimes we have paralysis by analysis, and often what we need is just to take action because you never know what opportunities will present itself. And once you take action, make sure you have a strong work ethic.
I mean, it's just ingrained to me to always work. When their dad came home from work, I would go clean houses. I also started a daycare. So during the day, I was watching kids. In the evening, I was cleaning houses, and I was there with my kids for a few years, full time.
Finally, you have to always be learning. If you don't continually learn new things, how can you better yourself and how can you set yourself up for opportunities that you don't even know exist yet?
I started in a sales support role. I thought this is an opportunity for me to learn something new, to develop my skills. I wasn't working directly with investors yet. And so I learned the business through that support role. And it was interesting, like within 6 months of being in that role, I was essentially selling the products.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to my team's investor events and watching their presentations. I was talking about it to people that I met and that I knew and was having them invest. I just wasn't getting paid for it because I would have to refer them to the account managers. Quickly realized, okay, this is something that I actually want to challenge myself with. And so I moved into an account manager role within 6 months of being there. Gosh, that was a huge learning curve and skill development phase for me. And so, learning to do public speaking and presentations in front of large groups of investors. I remember at one point, management from this company came and to our Edmonton office and set up a bunch of cameras kind of like this. And there was 3 or 4 of, executives in the room. And you had to stand up there and do a full presentation on one of the company's investment offerings and then be critiqued.
Which they knew inside out, right?
Inside out. They built it.
Yeah.
And so, but man, did that ever work well as far as developing that skill. And I learned sales processes and of course learned a lot about investments and different structures for investments, just a lot about business development and that whole side of the business. That's where I kind of developed all of my foundational skills, to be able to do what I do now for sure.
Lifelong learning is an important aspect of developing a high achiever mindset, as it will allow you to continuously acquire new knowledge, skills, and perspectives, which are crucial for your own growth as well as your professional growth. So in summary, 4 things to focus on to develop a high achiever mindset. 1, learn to adapt quickly so you can enable yourself to navigate change and uncertainty with flexibility and resilience. 2, be fearful of what failure will bring. Having that fear will motivate you a lot more than just focusing on your vision and passion. 3, just take action. Too many people overanalyze and overthink their situation when sometimes it just needs to take that first step to open up your opportunities. Stop thinking about perfection and start thinking about action. Lastly, 4, always be learning. Embrace a lifelong learning mindset so you can stay ahead of the game and bring value to everything you do. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to check out the full podcast interview with Crystal. The link is in the description below.